So The Black Phone was considered a 2021 movie, but it came out this year in 2022 in select movie theaters and is now on demand. This was a movie I wanted to see in the theater, but I didn't get a chance to go. But my wife and I just watched it over the weekend on demand, and this is a movie from, colleagues and acquaintances. Some people were saying it wasn't that good or it was just meh, and maybe because they were expecting something pretty scary. But The Black Phone is definitely more of a thriller than a horror film. It has a lot of horror elements in it. I love the mask in this movie, and The Black Phone, it has Ethan Hawke as top billing, and the two, basically it's one main kid character. His sister is also a major character, so you have Finn and Gwen, who are basically the main characters. But Black Phone is about this guy who's going around kidnapping children, and he has the nickname The Grabber, and he's holding these kids captive, and you're seeing all these, signs of kids going missing, and Finn, who's one of the main characters, he runs into The Grabber and gets kidnapped. And this is an interesting movie because it takes a very simple premise and then just adds kind of a little supernatural twist to it. And I like that because the name of the movie makes a lot of sense after you see it, because, you see like, TV spots for this. You're like, why is it called The Black Phone? But Finn is able to pick up this black phone in this basement that he's being held captive, and even though it's not connected, he can hear all these voices from other kids who have been kidnapped and killed by The Grabber. And I really like that aspect of it. And this movie is a very solid movie, I would say. A lot of people, I think, were too harsh on it because they were expecting a lot more. And they were probably expecting more twists or something more to it. But, without spoiling things, it is pretty straightforward. Minus this kid being able to hear these voices of these other kids who were killed through this phone, and his sister is able to see things and see clues of things through her dreams. So she also has this sort of, basically, a superpower almost. Obviously, with horror films that come out, the marketing of stuff, or the marketing of any movie that is even remotely has scary elements to it, they're gonna market it as a horror film and like a something that goes boo at you. And this was one of those movies, I think. And to me, I love a good slow burn type film, and I like movies that are just kind of they take their time going. And while this movie isn't that long, this movie is about an hour and 40 minutes. This movie does take its time. It definitely establishes the relationship between Finn and Gwen, the brother and sister, who are the main characters of this movie. Finn is a bullied kid at school, but he has this one friend who is known as like the toughest kid in school. His name is Bruce, and he kind of stands up for Finn because Finn helps him out with his math homework and such. I think some people were probably disappointed by this movie because Ethan Hawke, who plays The Grabber, wasn't really in the movie a whole lot. Even though he was a very crucial part of this movie, he definitely did not come off as, being in the movie enough, probably to some people. But I loved his many different forms of his mask, and you basically didn't see his face up until, just one point in the movie, but he was always wearing this mask in different forms where it would just have like, you know, from the nose up. He would have one, he would have just from the nose down, like type of part of the mask on. And then there's times where, you know, he had the whole mask on, but one version, like it had like a sad, like had like a frown, like it was like typeface or whatever. And then there was one where it's like all smiley and such. And, you know, it's, I don't know. I think this was just a really decently made thriller film. And, you know, some people, you know, were expecting it to be more horrific and such, but this is a good way to kill 90 minutes of your time, I think. If you want one of the, you know, better, straightforward, kind of by the numbers thriller, this is a good one to check out. And this was made by Scott Derrickson, and he made Sinister, and he made the first Doctor Strange movie, and he dropped out of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness due to creative differences, apparently. And I think it's because he probably wanted to make a more horrific type movie for Marvel. And I guess he just went on to make this movie, and I think he did a good job of doing this movie because it probably gave him a lot more freedom. And this movie was based on the story The Black Phone by Joe Hill, who is Stephen King's son. And this is a very decently made movie. And I liked one aspect of it I really liked was Scott Derrickson took kind of that like Super 8 type old film footage from Sinister and kind of incorporated it into this movie with Gwen's dreams. Like the stuff she was seeing was through this like Super 8 type film. And I don't know, I really like that aspect of it. Some editing choices were a little odd, but you know, overall I can't complain about this movie. And anyone who just wants a simple thriller with just a slight, you know, supernatural edge to it, I think you're probably gonna really like this. And you know, people who like movies that take their time, you know, are gonna appreciate this as well. So I don't think that this movie deserves like a lot of hate that it gets, you know, from people who are just like, I wanted something super scary and such. It's like, you know, at least this is my bias, but it's like people that are like the grabber in this movie, like to me, that's the stuff that's scary to me. It's because they're real people, you know, they're not, you know, these ghosts and goblins. As much as I love that stuff, it's like that, you know, that stuff isn't real. You know, this stuff really happens. And I love the look to it because it does look like it was, you know, made, not necessarily made in the 70s, but it has the look of like the 70s. And it took place in 1978 in this movie. And just the, you know, the way everything looks and, you know, all the clothes and yeah, the looks of all the kids, like I thought it was really interesting, and it's definitely one I would recommend checking out. So if you haven't seen The Black Phone, at this point it is on demand and you're probably going to be able to buy it on a physical copy pretty soon. But I can't really complain, and I suggest checking this out. So horror fans, I think a good amount of horror fans who have an appreciation for film are going to enjoy this movie. I wouldn't say it's an absolute amazing movie, but this is one of the better ones that have come out recently. So definitely check out The Black Phone. I think it is worth your time. So I'm going to leave it at that. If any of you enjoyed this video, definitely give me a thumbs up on it, and I will see you in a future video. Bye.